Hey now, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and we are now in the top 20 of my top 100 games of all time. These are the cream of the crop, and really I'll go ahead and say that there's not like a huge gulf between the games in my 11 through 20 and my 1 through 10. Well, maybe between my number 1 and my number 20, sure, but any of these 20 games are fantastic, and I will play them anytime they are suggested. I'll drop everything I'm doing to play them. I mean, even when as a reviewer, when I need to play all these brand new shiny games that come in, if someone suggests one of these games, I'm going to be like, I know I should play this new game, but that might be terrible, and I know that this is fantastic. That's how I feel about all of these games. So let's get to it, and as much as it pains me to do so for these games, I have to give the second opinion to the Board Game Geek community. My number 20 is a fairly new game. It came out this summer, maybe early fall, and that is Legendary Encounters, an alien deck building game from Upper Deck. Much like the original Marvel Legendary, this is a deck building game where you take control of a group of heroes and you're playing cooperatively in order to defeat a certain scenario. But that is really where the similarities end. First off, a Legendary Alien Encounters, or however you want to say it, it's kind of a mouthful of a name, is purely cooperative, unlike the original Legendary. And in this one, you really go through different scenarios. They are based off of the movies. All 4 movies are represented here, and despite what you may think about them, some of the later ones, they are represented well. You go through all the different objectives that were in the original movies. Like in the first movie, you go down to the planet, and you find the eggs, and then you come back and have to outlive this, or survive against this organism, the perfect organism that's running around the ship trying to kill you. This game is brutally hard. It's really hard. Did I mention that it's really, really hard to win this game? Because it is. And there's a trader mechanic which actually works well, but give up any chance of winning the game if you actually play with that. But that's fine because it's all about the journey, and it is so fun and thematic. There's really cool mechanics like having to scan cards as they come down the facility row, which is this game's version of the villain lineup from the original Legendary. Oh, so many cool things here. So thematic, so cool. If you love aliens, you have to be all over this one. And did I mention the game is really difficult to win? That is my number 20, Legendary Encounters, an alien deck building game from Upper Deck. Do check it out. And unfortunately, Mary Murr says, this is everything I dislike in a game. Deck building? Check. Unmitigated luck? Check. A beating with 5 players, the number 1 usually play? Check. And player elimination? Check. Oh, and did I mention deck building? A luck fest with none of the fun. My number 19 is Zombicide from Cool Mini or Not, and you can throw any version of the base set of Zombicide here. The original, Zombicide Prison Outbreak, Zombicide Rue Morgue, the new one, which I've only played a couple times, but is also very, very fun. This game is really is a zombie apocalypse in a box. There's a lot of zombie games out there, but some of them, more than others, will make you feel like you're actually playing a zombie game, and some of them focus much more on sort of the emotional and social interaction between the players, like The Walking Dead. This game is much more Dawn of the Dead or even Dead Alive in a box, and it just works really, really well. First off, it's scenario-based. It's incredibly replayable, because even with only the base game, you have tons of different scenarios you can make, and there's fan content made online all the time. It's got beautiful miniatures that help bring this world to life, and it does a very good job of making you feel like you're being swarmed with zombies. It's cooperative gameplay, which is another plus. You're just walking down the street and a couple zombies pop by and you're like, no big deal. But then you make some more noise and you get a little stronger. You kill some zombies. You're feeling confident, like, how we got this. Then you open up a building and tons of zombies pour out and you're like, okay, it's a little bit worse, but we still got this. And then more and more and more and more zombies come out until the entire board is flooded and you are like not even halfway to your goal and you need to get across the entire map, and it is so tense and fun. It's very, very simple. It's just dice chucking, but you're working together, and it works really, really well. I know there's some finicky rules about targeting, but really, in the grand scheme of things, it's a minor thing, and it's easy to forget in the scope of how cool this game is. That is Zombicide from Cool Mini or Not, my number 19. However, Chris Oz says, the absolute worst game on earth. It's a complete gimmick to get you to keep spending money on new characters and expansions, and you all keep eating this crap up. I'll never understand it. My number 18 is another very new game on the list. Have you guys got your Cult of the New Accusations locked and loaded yet? Well, you definitely should. This one is Abyss from Asmodee. When I first saw this game, I think when most people first saw this game, you were just blown away by the visuals. The game has beautiful artwork from the stunning covers, 5 different variant covers, and some maniacs actually collected all 5 of them. Even I'm not that hardcore. And just the artwork on the cards and the graphic design, even the small Hobbit cards of the different little undersea races. Everything about this game is beautiful. The pearls that you use as currency. But you know what? Even despite, this really beautiful coat on top of it, you would think that that might cover up some glaring flaws in the gameplay. Not so. This is a solid card game. And yes, it is just a card game despite all the amazing components that you have, but it works so well. You're trying to get different sets of cards in order to gain control of these different lords, and then you use these lords in order to gain control of territory and try to get combos going off and try to maximize your points as much as possible. It's actually relatively simple, but it's just a solid, streamlined game with lots of beautiful eye candy to look at, and that is not a bad thing. This is one of those games that really hit it home this year that I love card-driven games. This is a great example of that. That's Abyss from Asmodee, my number 18. However, Zero Cool ITA says, boring. The Festival of Nothing. A push your luck that is not, because most of the time, you must obviously take the drawn card. Thus the gameplay itself. The most overrated game since ever. My number 17 is Among the Stars from Artipia Games. Now, I have a history with Seven Wonders. I've probably played the game at least 5 full times now, using different expansions, using different variants, and I can't say it's a bad game, but it never grabbed me. It always feels like a chore to play. There's a complete disconnect from the, lack of theme in the game, and it never felt that interesting to me. And Among the Stars came along, and people said, this might be the game for you. This might be the one that gets you really into this type of card drafting game. And they were right, because the theme here is awesome. You are not just drafting cards and kind of hoping to maximize points and do some stuff and grab some tokens. You're building a space station, and where you place things matters thematically. You can't put the military equipment next to your gardens. When you build a racetrack, which is in one of the expansions, it has to go in a circuitous route around your space station in a certain grid of cards. You can't put the lookout tower in the middle of your space station if you want to get the most points. It has to be on the edge of your space station, looking out into space. Everything makes sense, and it is so cool, and it's beautiful. The artwork is great. The graphic design can use some work, but it's hard to think about that when you're looking at all this cool art. And the expansions really make this game. I would say the expansions really elevated this game at least 10 spots for me, because they add so much more depth to the game. Cool alien ambassadors, and the alien races that you can take control of are cool as well. So every player feels distinct, and it feels like you're doing something. I cannot speak highly enough about this game. It is drafting, which is one of the best mechanics ever in my opinion, right below deck building as far as I'm concerned, and it's drafting with a purpose. I love it. Among the Stars from Artipia Games, my number 17. However, Benny D says, a watered down version of Seven Wonders, which is to say, water. My number 16 is Chaos in the Old World from Fantasy Flight Games. This was Eric Lang's, or one of his first big hits. And now he's almost becoming a household name among hobby board gamers, because he just churns out hit after hit after hit. But Chaos in the Old World, as far as I'm concerned, is the one that put him on the map. And it is still one of the biggest grandiose game that he's made, I think. This is set in the Warhammer Fantasy universe, and you, instead of just taking control of one of the different races, like the common races in the Warhammer world, like you do in the miniatures game or like in any other type of fantasy war game, you are taking control of one of the chaos gods themselves. And you see that in every inch of this gameplay. You have the map, the board, which is like stretched human skin, which is like really gross but really cool. And then all of your different minions are demons and cultists, and you have magic spells that you cast. And the whole point of the game is it's area control, but it's like really thematic area control, where not only you're putting out minions to try and take control of these territories, you're actually fighting the other players, so it's much more combative than typical Euro-style area control games, and you're actually trying to corrupt these places. You put corruption tokens out there, and you can completely ruin sections of the map, which is kind of what Chaos Gods would do if they were actually real, so it makes sense. This game, it looks beautiful, it is awesome to play, it's fiercely competitive, but man, it is a blast from beginning to end. It is always tight. There's all these different special abilities. There's different ways to win, victory points, threat dials. You really owe it to yourself to play this game. I know some people have some problem with the theme, as we'll see in a second, but if you can get over that, there is such a solid game here. That is Chaos in the Old World from Fantasy Flight Games, my number 16. Speaking of the theme, Drew1365 says, do not be sucked in by the inexplicably high rank, which must be the result of some infernal deal, because this game is random, chaotic, and probably broken. But gameplay aside, the hideous artwork, grotesque miniatures, and disturbing descriptive text left me with an oppressive feeling with which it took me a couple days to recover. This is a horrible game that glorifies evil and suffering. My number 15 is Ghost Stories from Repos Productions and Asmodee, I think, and more importantly, Antoine Bauza, who is one of my favorite game designers, hands down. Ghost Stories is a cooperative game with a really cool theme. You take control of these like Shaolin monks or something back in the time when Shaolin monks would have actually existed, and you're trying to fend off ghosts who are swarming over this village. You have to protect the village and all the different village tiles that are out on the board. At the same time, you need to ask these villagers for help, so it behooves you to keep these tiles in play and keep them from being haunted by the never-ending swarms of demons and ghosts. Every player has different special powers. You even have 2 different options of special powers, so it increases the replayability. There are some awesome expansions for this game, and the game just looks great. It has the fantastic artwork of Piero, who did the artwork for Medieval Academy, a newer game, which I recently praised the artwork for. It's just a fantastic thematic experience, and it is so difficult. It's so difficult that when you finally win, you jump out of your chair, you're like, yes! It doesn't matter how you did it, and that is an accomplishment. That's how hard this game is, but I love it. I love that challenge. This is one of the greatest cooperative games I have ever played. Ghost Stories from Repos and Asmodee, my number 15. However, Zara Jess says, a broken, joyless game that was the worst $50 I have ever spent. I had a lot of hope and expectations for this game because of the theme, but it's purely pasted on. The gameplay is poor, themeless, and punishingly difficult. The game ships with errata, has a confusing rulebook, and no redeeming features. This game is the worst I have ever played. My number 14 is Kemet from Matagot Games. This game, first off, it's stunning. The miniatures in this game put most other board game quality miniatures to shame. And just looking at it, you see this map of like a fictional version of Egypt, and you see these giant chunky D4s representing pyramids. It just looks beautiful the first time that you see it. Then you realize that the game holds up to that standard and is just phenomenally fun. I don't typically like games that are just pure all-out attack, vicious in your face, because sometimes I just want to play a game and sort of sit back, do my strategy, sort of play the long game, get victory points in some other type of way. But this game, you cannot avoid combat. It encourages combat, but I'm okay with that, because in this game it doesn't really matter too much if you lose a battle, because maybe you lose a battle here, but that means you have other resources that you've saved up to do another battle over here, and you could be saving up prayer points in order to get these awesome special abilities and really cool monster miniatures, which you put with another army that you rebuild, and then you go and you take revenge against that guy that beat you and destroy him, and all these different things give you victory points. And every game of this I've ever played has been tight. Nobody has been that far behind. Everyone has had a shot at winning. I've had games in the final round of play in a full complement player game where everybody was like a point away from victory. Some people may not like that. I love it. I love that tension. This is just a fun, combat-driven game. And did I mention how cool it all looks? With a great theme. Love it. Kemet, my number 14 from Matagot Productions. However, Frogmind has a lot to say on this subject. I'm not going to cover it all, but I'm going to cover a couple of really funny things that he said. The production of the game for me was an immediate warning This game was a little too garish than I normally like. It blinded like an airbrushed van with wizards and scarabs and scorpions and a sandstorm. Oh my. A boring and mechanically infantile game I wish to never play again. And then he helps out by giving pronunciation at the end. Kemet. Kemet. Thanks. My number 13 is Super Dungeon Explorer from Soda Pop Miniatures. This is a big, epic dungeon crawling game with really cool chibi miniatures and really great artwork and theme. It pays a lot of homages, whatever, to video games, including 16-bit video games. In fact, it's a one versus all game, which is another genre that I love. One player is the console, C-O-N-S-U-L, get it, who is taking control of all these different monsters and spawn points in this dungeon, and the big bad boss that you choose, because there are some different expansions with different bosses out already. Could be a dragon, could be this flaming ogre thing, could be this little boy vampire that turns into a giant winged bat monster, whatever. The console takes control of these characters and then pits them against the heroes. The heroes work cooperatively together, taking control of all these different chibi adventurers and trying to just mow through the monsters, hack and slash, get loot, go through different modes of play, 8-bit mode, 16-bit mode, and monsters come out in mini-bosses. Oh man, it is a great epic experience, but despite how epic it is, it's a relatively simple game, so you could bust this out with a lot of different people. If they're willing to put the time into it, because it can be a lengthy game, you could play it as a gateway game with new people, you could play it with your family, and it's just a beautiful game to behold, which makes it even better. Super Dungeon Explorer from Soda Pop Miniatures. I can't wait for the Forgotten King set coming out soon. This is easily my number 13. But Burnham says, even though they're rated the same, I'd much rather play Flux, by virtue of the fact that it plays much quicker. It should probably be noted that Flux is my least favorite board game of all time. Edit. If Super Dungeon Explorer was the only dungeon crawler in existence, and it played in only 15 minutes, it would be okay. One good thing I can say about this game, it makes me appreciate some other dungeon crawlers that much more. Okay, I didn't really intend for this to happen, but we're going to have a superhero smackdown. My number 12 game of all time is Sentinels of the Multiverse. Now, if you have been keeping up with my channel recently at the time of this video being posted, I've been very tough on Greater Than Games, the parent company of Sentinels of the Multiverse, because I don't feel that they're handling the brand very well. But anytime that I'm thinking that things are looking bleak for the future of Sentinels of the Multiverse, I think back to the game that started it all, the base game of Sentinels of the Multiverse and the expansions. Some of the best gaming experiences I have ever had. This is one of the most thematic games I have ever played and really makes it feel like you are taking control of superheroes. This isn't a deck building game, but this is a game where each player has a deck. You have a deck that is thematic to the superhero that you are playing, and it makes you feel like you are that character. If you are Absolute Zero, you are freezing people and absorbing ice and absorbing heat damage and releasing it back on your foes. My favorite character, Tachyon. If you are Tachyon, you are burning through your deck as fast as possible, but then using all those cards that you burn to deal a ton of damage to your foes because you're running around them and hitting them really quick. And all the villains are super cool, and the villains bring out henchmen and they have their own special abilities, and they get stronger as you wail on them. And then you have an environment, so you fight in an environment as well. The game is so cool and thematic, and it just makes sense how things work and the abilities that you use and how it tells a story. This game tells a story, but it does it with solid but simple mechanics. The game is very easy to understand, but it is very, very tough to win. The artwork is not something we need to talk about here. Let's be positive, but the game is solid. It's really, really good, and I look forward to every single expansion that comes out. Sentinels of the Multiverse from Greater Than Games, my number 12. However, War Machine 519 says, wow, this is a bad game. Generic superhero ripoff. No way to keep track of the 100 hits each villain takes? Come on. Can't ever see this getting to the table again. I just don't understand all the glowing reviews on this game. I've read comics since I was a kid. This doesn't feel anything like comics. The artwork is just bad. Kind of agree with you. It looks like a high school art student did it. I say that all the time. Remind me of bad 80s comic artwork. However, my number 11, and the reason why I said we're going to have a superhero smackdown, even though I really did not plan it this way, Legendary, a Marvel deck building game. Yes, it beat out Sentinels of the Multiverse, and it beat out the Legendary Encounters game by quite a wide margin. And I feel like I should explain why both of those situations are happening. As far as Legendary Encounters, I just like the theme of Marvel Legendary better. I like superheroes better than I like the Alien movies. I was never a huge Alien movie nut, even though I enjoyed them and thought they were great. And that game, Encounters, is very thematic. But I love the Marvel superheroes better, and looking at that artwork, and it is really great artwork even with the original set, and it just works better for me as far as taking on a mastermind and going through the scheme and all these different things that you can do, recruiting heroes, taking out villains, rescuing bystanders. That theme appeals to me much, much more. And while I do think that Sentinels of the Multiverse feels like a more thematic game, I like the mechanics and gameplay because it is a deck builder of Marvel Legendary better. I just do. It works better for me. It works better as a solo game. I do a lot of Marvel Legendary solo because it's fast and it works very, very well. This is probably the best official comic book game that I have ever played. You're building these teams of heroes, and there's with all the expansions that are out, that's another reason why this game beats the Legendary Encounters. With all the expansions, every hero you could possibly imagine for the Marvel Universe, as far as like the A and B list heroes at least, are in the game along with the villains. Now you can play as the villains, and that's fine. But you take out all these different masterminds and all these different schemes, and they're all ripped straight from the comic book, and it feels thematic. You're taking out villains, keeping them from escaping from the city, trying to stop the mastermind from completing his scheme. If it wasn't for the semi-cooperative aspect, this game would be almost perfect. As it is, it's still very, very fun, and I love it. I get every expansion as soon as it comes out. Marvel Legendary, a deck building game from Upper Deck, my number 11. However, Kemper says, I should not have bought into the hype. Worse than Dominion. Bystanders taken by escaping villains, destroy one card in the HQ. What? That's it? Villains escape from the city, discard a card from your hand. What? That's it? Yeah. Alright, the wait is over. The next set of my list will be my top 10 games of all time. I'm very excited for this. I can't wait to share it with you guys. It's going to be coming very, very quickly, either right after this video or very, very soon after, maybe tomorrow. Look for it. It's going to be great. Thanks for watching. Take care.